Welcome back, everyone. OB Studios. I am Tom. Now, as we near the regular season, I'm here to make some predictions. I am going to do divisional predictions. I'm not going to be guessing what everyone's record is going to be. I want to just go over and see how I think every division is going to shake out, who's going to finish where, and then maybe at the end of the season we'll go back over this and see, hey, how wrong was I? Because there's a chance that I'm going to be pretty wrong on a lot of this stuff. With that being said, let's get started with the NFC East. Here we go. In fourth place in the NFC East, I believe another pretty major rebuild year for this team, going with the New York Giants. I'm not super impressed with their offseason. I think they have some solid pieces. I think that division's really, really good, and I don't think they're there yet to be even in the top three. We'll see. Honestly, it could be a battle between Dallas and New York for third and fourth, but for now, I'm going fourth place in the NFC East, New York Giants. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys. They've been having issues. Jerry Jones not wanting to re-sign Micah Parsons and the issues that they've been having and keeping talent. And I just, like I said, I didn't see a lot this offseason that made me think, hey, this is a team that's going to make a huge jump forward. Because Jerry Jones, as much as he keeps saying all in, is he? We'll find out. All right, second place, NFC East, the Commanders. And the reason I have the Commanders is that's where they were. I mean, they were good last year. I think we will see Jaden Daniels take a pretty big step forward. And I think they've made some pretty good progress on building around Jaden Daniels. I think they have a really solid team, especially under their new ownership. And I think they have an absolute possibility of coming in second or maybe even sneaking into first. But in first place, with everything else being shown, you got the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. They won the Super Bowl in very convincing fashion last year. They were an incredibly good team. And I think they've only gotten better. So until anything proves differently, this is the way I think it's going to end. I think this is how it's going to end. The season is Philly in first, Washington in second, Dallas in third, and the Giants in fourth. All right. Next up is the NFC North. For the NFC North, who I think is going to finish last in the NFC North division, we've got the Chicago Bears. They've made a lot of improvements this year. The problem I have is the fact that the NFC North is really, really, and I don't think it's going to be a very wide margin. Honestly, I think it could be any of the teams have a potential for taking the North. I think, the Vikings have a chance for being in last place as well. I think the fact that J.J. McCarthy hasn't had a full year to start and Caleb Williams did might mean that, maybe the Bears don't finish in last. It's another one of these divisions where I'm not 100% sold on who's in last and who's in first. I think there's two teams towards the bottom and there's two teams towards the top, and they could kind of move around a little bit, but time will tell. Now, as far as third place is concerned, third place, I'm going to go ahead and say Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings have J.J. McCarthy. They have an amazing team. They did really well last year, but J.J. McCarthy is essentially going to be a rookie this year, simply for the reason that he hasn't really started a regular season game. He was injured all last year. Kind of have to understand that a little bit and know that, there's going to be some growing pains for McCarthy coming into this team, regardless of how good the rest of the team around him is. Now, second place. This year, I think second place is going to be the Detroit Lions. I think it's going to be a toss-up between the Lions and the Packers. It's really hard for me to say which team is going to be better. If the Lions can stay healthy, at least a lot healthier than they did last year, the Lions have a legitimate chance of actually winning the division this year. It just kind of depends on the health of their team and how they're going to react and how some of these guys that were severely injured come back and what contributions they provide. Now, that means for the NFC North, I have Green Bay Packers winning it. They've had a really strong team. They got stronger this year. I think that they have a legitimate chance. Like I said, I think it's going to be really tight between the Lions and the Packers, but I think this year the Packers take the division. So for the NFC South, it's a little bit different. I mean, some of these teams were really bad last year, and some of them, have gotten better. And I think there's been some improvement overall on some of them. But to go into this, so the fourth place team, I think, for the NFC South is going to be the New Orleans Saints. Reason for this is I don't know if they really have an answer at quarterback right now. They have some decent players on both sides of the ball. But they're missing some key components, and the quarterback question is pretty massive, in my opinion. Is Tyler Shuck the answer? Who knows? I don't think Spencer Rattler is, but we'll see what happens. Maybe this puts them in a very prime position to take, I don't know, maybe another Manning in their future. Anyway, third place in the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons, they have had some improvement. Michael Penix might be the guy that they're going to go with. They have a lot of salary cap tied up in Kirk Cousins, and that may have, prevented them from really building on the team that they could have. I'm not sold on them yet. I think Michael Penix could be really good. I'm not 100% sold on him, but we'll see. They have a lot of room to grow, and I think that they could be good, but I think they're not quite there yet. Now, next up, I'm going to go ahead and say the Carolina Panthers. We did see some good improvement from Bryce Young last year. Bryce Young has a very good chance to become a much better player than he was in his rookie year and to live up to that first overall pick. So we'll see. I think they've built around him quite well. I think there's a chance that maybe the Panthers are going to finally dig themselves out of the basement of this division, which leaves first place, in my opinion, going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield looking really good. They have a solid team around him, and I think in this division it is a little bit weaker, and I think as far as teams are concerned, I think the Buccaneers are the most well-rounded, solid team with, my opinion, the best quarterback in that particular division. So that would be the NFC South for me. And let's move on. So the NFC West is a tough division to call right now. There were a lot of injuries in the NFC West last year. There's also been a lot of changes on a lot of these teams. And there's teams that have, like I said, you have the Niners that were just like probably the most injured team ever. And they're getting healthy, but they did lose a bunch of players. They gained some other players back. LA looked really good. There's a lot of questions surrounding Matthew Stafford. There's a lot of questions surrounding the Seahawks and their new offense and how they're going to look. And then the Cardinals, honestly, last year I think they were kind of mid, and I'm not sure what they did, in my opinion, to fully improve, to really knock it out of the park to make them a leader in this division. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start out and say fourth place. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. I'm not sure how good they're going to be with the offense that they have. They made some changes, especially at quarterback, wide receiver. A lot of things happened, and I'm a little wary of what they're going to be capable of, especially with the concerns around their O-line. I think their O-line is better, but I don't know. And how is that going to shake out? So that's kind of why I have them down in fourth. Now, as far as third place, I got the Cardinals. Once again, not 100% sold on how they have improved. We'll have to see what goes on, and Kyler Murray really needs to show that he is the guy, because I think he's been good, but I don't think he's been amazing. Now, second place and first place was really hard for me to decide in this division, but second place I have the LA Rams. And the reason I have the Rams in second and not in first is because there's a lot of questions around Stafford, his health, his back, and things like that. As far as their backups are concerned, I'm not really sure on that either. So pending that, I'm going to go with second place for the Rams. They have a really solid team, but there are a lot of questions around them. Now, first is also a big question mark. As you can tell, it's going to be the 49ers. The issue with the 49ers is going to be health. Can they stay healthy? They did lose some players in free agency. They got some other good players in return. They re-signed a bunch of guys that are going to be really good. The 49ers were a really deep team anyway, so they have a really good chance of being the best team in this division. I'm going to give it to them because they have the most stable quarterback question with regards to, is their guy there? And the answer, in my opinion, for Brock Purdy is yes, he is. So NFC West, San Francisco, in my opinion, is probably going to be taking that one. All right, next up, we got the AFC East. So the AFC East has had a lot of change, especially since the Patriots dynasty times. Now, The Buffalo Bills have been a very solid team. They're building their new stadium. You have seen the Patriots get their new quarterback. And to see if Drake May is really going to be the guy, we'll see this year. I think he looked amazing last year in the games that he did play. The Jets, a lot of questions going in there, especially at quarterback. They tried the Aaron Rodgers experiment. It did not work out for them. But they have a chance now to kind of make up for that. We'll see where they go with it. And then you have the Dolphins, who, I don't know, I have a lot of questions about them, which is why I have the Dolphins in fourth place. Reason being, there's a lot of questions about how they're going to play, how they played last year. They could come out strong. You have Tyreek Hill talking about not wanting to be there. I'm not sold on the Dolphins being the team this year. I'm just really not. And so with that being said, I'm going with them fourth place in the AFC East. Now in third place, I do have the Jets. They made some changes. I think they probably improved on not having Aaron Rodgers there, just simply because they have a young team. I think their core could be really good. We'll need to see if the fit is correct in New York and to see if Fields is going to be the guy that they want there. I'm not sure. They might be getting a quarterback this next year in the draft. We'll see. Now, second place. Not the return of the Patriots dynasty quite yet. I think that Drake May puts them in a solid second. I think they have a good team. I think having Mike Vrabel as the head coach is going to be a massive improvement. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a good fit there. So I think the Patriots have a legitimate chance of becoming a much better team than they were last year, and I think they take second place, which leaves us with the Buffalo Bills being in first place, and I think that's kind of a no-brainer. They have been a phenomenal team the past few years. They've made many improvements over the past few years that make me really believe that this team is still the strongest in this division and one of the strongest in the AFC. So, in my opinion, Buffalo does take it again this year, and maybe Buffalo all the way this time. All right, next up, we got the AFC North. Now, AFC North is always a super competitive division. Those teams beat the crap out of each other. And somehow the Steelers always have a non-losing record, which in my opinion has kind of hurt them in finding their quarterback of the future. But we'll see what happens this year. Now this year, with regards to fourth place, I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to be the Browns. Now, the reason I'm going with the Cleveland Browns is they really have zero answer at quarterback. They drafted guys this year, and it could get interesting. They have some solid players. Yes, I think they're still a little dysfunctional, and I'm not sure they've really found their way past that Deshaun Watson trade. We'll see how it's going to go. Don't have a ton of faith in them. They could prove me wrong. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I just don't think with how hard their division is and their schedule that they're going to be really moving that far this season. Now, in third place, the Steelers. It's really going to depend on how well they do, whether this season, with the trades they made and the signings they made, if it's really going to be a good thing that they finish in third. The Steelers always have this knack of finishing as a very mid team, which puts them mid in the draft, and that puts them in a position to not draft the quarterback of the future. Now, they could get lucky and draft someone like the Niners did in the 7th round. It turns out to be their guy. That is not very common, though. If they want to be able to get their quarterback of the future and pick their correct guy, then they probably need to not be in the middle of the draft again. They have a lot of options at quarterback next year, so we'll see if this is going to be the year. I think they're solid third place. They might even have another winning season. I just don't think that they're nearly the best team in this division. Which brings us to number 2. Now, I have the Bengals at number 2, and that is with their defense as it currently stands and the fact that they have trouble signing guys. Now they have just an amazing offense. Their offense is absolutely stellar. If their defense can step up a little bit this year, then they have a real chance of being a major contender. And that's really going to be the question mark. Can the Bengals defense be better than it was last year? Because their offense was fine. Their defense just needs to not be complete garbage. So, with that being said, first place, I think definitely going to Baltimore, pending the Steelers actually doing something that's more than just mid, and pending the Bengals defense not being hot garbage. I think with that being said, I think the Ravens are the most well-rounded team in this division, and I definitely think they will take first place this year. Okay, so next up, we have the AFC South. Now, the AFC South, they've got some teams that have some issues. And I'm going to just go ahead and get into this one because this whole thing is just kind of a mess down in the South. And by down in the South, I'm going to start with the least south of these teams, and that's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts don't have an answer at quarterback. We'll see what's going to happen going forward, and if Anthony Richardson can correct course on his accuracy issues, I don't have a whole lot of faith. In general, I don't have a lot of faith as the Colts they have a lot of glaring holes, and they just don't seem all fully put together quite yet. I think they're more than capable of getting there. I think they're going to need to change up on their signal caller. I think their quarterback is going to need to change. I liked Anthony Richardson as their starter last year. Unfortunately, I just don't see any progress from him. At least nothing that shows me that he's made leaps and bounds over the complete inaccurate passer he has been the past few years. So moving on from the Colts, I'm going to go ahead and say the Titans are going to be third. I don't think their changes that they've made are enough to get them completely out of the basement. I think they're out of the bottom part, like the absolute basement of the AFC South, but I don't think they're all the way back. I think Cam Ward was a good pickup. I think they have some good signings, and I think they have a pretty solid team. They are decent. I don't think they are going to be a major contender this year. They could make a fool out of me. But at the moment, I think they're kind of a good mid-level team that is working on rebuilding and has a few years before they're really going to be a powerhouse if they continue to make some good choices. Now, for second place, I have chosen the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jags, they have a pretty good team. Trevor Lawrence has struggled a little bit. They let some players go. They've had, some chances, and they really haven't taken full advantage. And the fact that they're in a division that has been fairly weak and they have not really been the strongest in that either, I think they're still having some issues. We need to see if Trevor Lawrence can kind of course correct from a rough season last year, and we'll see. I still have faith that he could be a really good, great starting quarterback. I don't know. His time is kind of running out as far as, massive improvement in becoming an elite QB in the league, which means that first place is going to be the Houston Texans for me. I think that they have, once again, I'm usually going with the more well-rounded team of the group. You could disagree with me on that if you'd like. I feel like the Texans are the better team in this division, and they have the strongest chance, especially with their schedule, to make it to the first place position in the AFC South. I will say that I kind of flip-flopped a little bit between the Jags and the Texans, but I think the Texans ultimately will be the team coming out on top. All right, and now time for the final division. Final division being the AFC West. Everyone knows I'm a big Broncos fan, but that didn't necessarily play into what I was looking at. I was looking at strength of schedule. Now, I think there's definite possibility for a lot of movement in the top of this division. There's a lot of really good teams in this division, and I think that it's probably one of the toughest divisions, outside of probably the AFC North as far as competitiveness. So now, starting off at the bottom, I do have the Las Vegas Raiders, and that just is because they're still in more of a rebuilding process. They got a great running back in Ashton Genty. Brock Bowers killed it last year. I'm not 100% sold on Geno Smith being their guy, but with the new head coach in Vegas and new systems coming, it could be time to see a rise from the Raiders. Until I see proof of that, right now they're sitting in fourth, and there's no real hate towards them. They've made some really good changes, and I'm looking at their team with a lot of hope for the future of the Vegas Raiders because simply they have some really good talent there. And now they have a coach that I think is probably their best coach they've had in a very long time. So with that being said, they are fourth for me right now. Going in third, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the Chargers have, once again, they have a great coach, made a change last year. They got rid of a few players, a little bit of question marks. They still have some amazing players. They got some new players that are amazing as well. I think they're going to be an incredibly strong team. I still have my concerns with their ability to, finish those big games where we've seen towards the end of the year kind of the whole chargering it thing. I don't know. Maybe they'll make a fool of me on this one, calling them third. They might jump over second and first. Now, second, there's going to be a lot of people getting upset with me on this one. But in second place, I got the Chiefs. And the reason is that I was not sold on the Chiefs last year. And that was just watching their games. I watched a lot of Chiefs games. They're in my division. I see a lot of them. There was a lot of games where it felt like luck was on their side. And it's, football, luck is good. and you have to be in the position to win the games, to have the luck play out in a way that you can win. But you can't always count on it. And I feel like the Chiefs' offense was just not, they just weren't the team that we're used to seeing. Now, that could change. A switch could flip, and they become that team again, and they're going to be this dominating team throughout the entire league. I'm not sure yet. Now, you might want to call me a homer on this, and that's totally fine, but I'm saying the Broncos retake the AFC West. The defense was phenomenal last year, and it's only gotten better. Bo Nix started out very, very slow last year, and a lot of people didn't have faith in him, and he learned that system and grew through it and got better and better every week, which means I feel like he was really starting to grasp the system. Now, on top of that, in the offseason, he did train with Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, two guys that are going to hopefully push him over that edge and make him one of the more elite quarterbacks in the league. Have a lot of faith. Hopefully the run game is massively improved. Two new starting running backs for the Broncos. I think that's going to be a massive difference on one of the better O-lines in the league, one of the best statistically. So I think if the Broncos offense can improve and the defense does exactly what they did last year and maybe even gets a little bit better, then I don't know if there's a chance that anyone can take the AFC West from them. I could be completely wrong, though. As a Broncos fan, maybe my hopium is a little bit strong right now, but that's the way I see the AFC West shaking out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of all of my picks, or what you think I may have gotten completely wrong. And at the end of the year, we will go back over and rewatch this and see how wrong I was and see how bad my takes possibly could have been. But until that time, I can't wait to see you guys for the first stream weekend. We're going to be streaming Thursday Night Football. There's going to be Friday Night Football. We're going to do the Broncos game on Sunday. Then we're going to do Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. And that is all the opening weekend of the NFL for me here. So I will see you guys then. Have a great rest of your preseason, and look for more videos coming. Some of it's going to be fantasy related. See you guys.